Hello, my name is Jody, and sometimes when I go to sleep, I dream. I dream of relaxing things, like being a pebble on the beach on a warm sunny day, or lying in a peaceful meadow watching the sky. I like dreaming of happy things and restful things and ordinary things. Sometimes I like to tell people stories about the things I dream about, but mostly I keep these stories to myself so as not to bore people too much. One night, not very long ago, I had a dream that was unusual enough to share, I think. I think this one could be interesting, and if it isn't, you could, at any time you wanted to, just close your eyes and listen, or just allow your mind to drift and wonder and relax deeply, breathing softly and slowly as you drift off to sleep. You don't really have to stay awake for this, not if you would prefer to be asleep, and if at any time you feel tired or sleepy, perhaps it would be best if you did go to sleep, because this movie is intended for bedtime or nap time or any time you would like to sleep, doze, or snooze. So you are to give in to any and all relaxing sleepy feelings. And if you do fall asleep, no worries. You can always come back and watch it again anytime you would like to fall asleep and have interesting dreams yourself, because most people do like to fall asleep and have interesting dreams. And if you are still awake right now, and if you will allow me, I will tell you my bedtime story about my interesting dream. My story begins just before bedtime, when I told Alora to go make me a sandwich, and she did. This is odd, because Alora has never made me a sandwich before. Come to think of it, I don't think anyone ever really makes me a sandwich unless I don't know them and I pay them to. But she did. She just jumped up and made me a sandwich. How wonderful, I thought, and this small favor made me feel just a little bit more special than I did a few minutes ago. When the sandwich was presented to me, it didn't look quite right. There was something about it I didn't trust. I didn't want to hurt Alora's feelings after she had just done something so nice for me, so I ate it. And it was delicious, and it felt warm in my belly, such a warm, full, satisfied feeling, like I had just eaten oatmeal made by my mom on a good day when she liked me. This warm, relaxed feeling began to seep into my stomach muscles, and I became very aware of how every fiber of every muscle in this area was softening, loosening, and letting go of all tension or trapped energy I had been holding onto from my day. Then this wonderfully relaxed feeling moved up into my chest, and as my lungs continued to breathe with a more relaxed, steady rhythm, I felt warm, relaxed, loving feelings in my heart, and felt this feeling of love for no reason other than it felt good to feel this feeling grow and become more joyfully intense. And as I continued to relax more deeply, I could feel my breathing and my heart rate gently slowing down and settling into a rhythm more like someone who was already deeply asleep. Warm, melting feelings of deep relaxation cooling down into my pelvis, and I felt my behind relax and sink a little deeper into the couch as I became more heavy and limp, as my muscles relaxed a little bit more and released a little bit more tension with each moment that passed. This was a very pleasant feeling, and I encouraged it to keep spreading and growing as it flowed into my legs and arms, and I allowed them to become limp, loose, floppy, and gave them permission to be heavy and still for now. My hands and feet became soft, loose, and heavy, and if I paid attention to them, if I paid special attention to them, they tingled and tickled just a little bit. I felt my neck and shoulder muscles let go and relax, these muscles unknotting and going off duty, so my head sunk a little bit deeper into the pillow because my neck knew it didn't have to hold my head up anymore. And this made my head feel very heavy. The warm feeling then worked its way up over my scalp and into my face, where all the little muscles in my face relaxed. My forehead smoothed and felt cool and unfurled. All the muscles around my eyes relaxed, cheeks as well as my jaw unclenched and fell open, leaving my warm, relaxed lips slightly parted. Tongue resting at the back of my mouth, up against my soft palate, because I know this position is ideal for sleep and keeps me from drooling or having to swallow my saliva. I was more wonderfully relaxed than I had ever been in my entire life. And then this feeling moved into my brain, and it felt clean, clear, and so very deeply relaxed. I had no upsetting or distracting thoughts, just a quiet, peaceful serenity, moving like a warm liquid, soaking into every brain cell, allowing each and every one to rest and be still. And then I noticed I had become quite tired and very, very sleepy. So sleepy, I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open. Every time I blinked, my eyes stayed closed just a little bit longer, and it became more and more pleasing to me just to let them rest. As I took interest in the little specks of color I saw on the backs of my warm, relaxed eyelids, I told Alora I was going to take a nap and went to my room. I was so tired and so very sleepy. It felt great to snuggle into my oh so comfortable bed, and I only had a moment to appreciate how nice, safe, and secure it felt to have my familiar bed softly support my weight so I could drift away into sleep without having to bother with any of the troubles or busyness of the outside world for a time, and just sleep. And I did that. I quickly sunk down into the soft darkness and fell into a deep, warm, comfortable, restful sleep right away, already looking forward to when I could awake, refreshed, energized, and ready to get things done. But for this time, I knew the best thing I could do is surrender to sleep and just rest deeply and rest well. For this time, I had set aside to take the best care of myself I could and allow myself to enjoy this feeling deeply. Enjoy this deeply healing slumber. It was in this long, deep, and sound sleep I began to dream. But I didn't know I was dreaming. I thought I really was sitting on my back deck on a pleasant summer's evening, enjoying the view of my shed and my shrubbery. I was having thoughts about what was behind my shed. When I was a child, my father had a shed so much bigger than this one, and I had an imaginary friend that lived behind that shed. I called him my monster friend. I didn't know what he looked like. I had never seen my monster friend. I just knew he lived behind the shed at night and would come out and protect me if anyone bad came into my house. I slept well, knowing he was there, and if I ever did have a nightmare, I would only have to threaten whatever it was that was frightening me with my monster friend, and all other monsters or boogeymen would vanish and take off quickly, never to return again. I was thinking how sad it was that I had such a small shed, and was wondering if my monster friend would bother to live behind it at all. And this is when I saw something moving behind the shed. I suspected it was the monster friend right away. I felt warm, happy feelings because I knew the monster friend could feel what I was feeling and stayed very still as not to frighten him. I did what I could to feel loving and welcoming because I wanted him to come out very much. I figured it was time I met him in person now that I was grown up, and I thought it might be nice to discuss quantum physics, the origin of the universe, or some other mature topic. He did come out from behind the shed and tiptoed across my backyard as if he was sneaking up on me, though I was looking right at him. Under his arm he was carrying the family album, and he sat down on a chair beside me and looked very excited to show me pictures of my childhood. I told him I didn't want to look at the pictures of my childhood because I had seen them before so many times they had become quite boring to me, and I would prefer a lively conversation. Shh, he said. Listen to the sprinkler and you will see. Then he started showing me pictures from the album, and I tried to be polite and listen to the sprinkler. The sprinkler reminded me of water, and water reminded me of feeding and watering my cats, and this reminded me I might have forgotten to feed and water my cats. I wasn't paying attention to the pictures any more as I tried to remember the last time I had fed and watered my cats, and try as I may, I could not remember. In fact, the harder I tried to remember, the more I forgot. It could have been days or weeks since I had given them food or water. I thought this with alarm. My imagination filled with images of my poor, loyal, constant companions, dehydrated and wasting away. How hurt and betrayed they must feel that I, who had loved them so, could so cruelly neglect and abandon them. I told my monster friend I must go feed my cats, but he just said, "Shh, listen to the sprinkler and then you'll know." I tried to get up, but he patted me down again and said, "Shh, listen to the sprinkler It has the answer for you. And again, as he kept patting me in the most relaxing and reassuring manner, I began to calm down and relax, clearing my mind of all upsetting or distracting thoughts, and I listened to the soft sounds my monster friend was making and began to relax even more deeply. The sound he was making and the way he was patting my back reminded me of how my mother was when I was upset, and if I listened to the sound and rested my attention on the gentle pats on my back, it had the same effect on me it had when I was a child, and I was feeling more and more calm with each pat and soft shushing sound. The monster friend reminded me to listen to the sprinkler, and I did listen to that also, and these sounds and the rhythmic patting on my back began to make me feel very tired and very sleepy, and I forgot about my cats for a time and enjoyed following these relaxed, sleepy feelings deeper into relaxation. My eyelids became so heavy I just had to let them slide shut and enjoy the wonderful darkness I was sinking down into as I felt the last remnants of my consciousness slip away, and I drifted down deeper into sleep and deeper into dreams. Deep in the darkness behind my heavy, soft, warm, melting, relaxed eyelids, I saw specks of color that began to swirl and then form images. The first thing I saw was a lovely young lady dancing in the woods, wearing a white nightgown. She spun around and around like she was simply having a marvelous time. I liked watching this pretty person dance and didn't want to interrupt or disturb her, but when I remembered my furry friends and looked around myself, finding nothing familiar and no other person to ask, I realized I would have to introduce myself and ask directions. So I called out to her, waving and saying hello as if she were more a distant ship than a girl dancing a few feet away. She stopped dancing and climbed onto a tree, and I was more than a little bit worried I had startled or frightened her with my overly loud and enthusiastic greeting. "Please don't be afraid," I implored her, running up to the tree with my hands outstretched in what I hoped would be a most unthreatening gesture. "I am not afraid," she giggled. "I feel completely safe and secure, warm, loved, and comfortable. My name is Ixarola, and I always dance on the ground and speak to people in trees. What's your name?" I said, "Hello, my name is Jody," and then I had a vague feeling like I was supposed to be welcoming her to something, but I couldn't remember what that would be, so I shook the feeling off and explained to her I was lost and had forgotten to feed my cats, and asked her if she knew the way back to my house. She pondered my dilemma for a moment, and then seemed to come up with an idea like she knew the answer all along. She said, "I know what you need to do. You need to listen to my nightgown," and held part of the material out to me to have a listen. So I did. I put my ear up against the offered part of the garment, and was surprised to hear it did make a sound. It sounded exactly like I would imagine this nightgown to sound like if it sounded like music. I listened to the sound of the nightgown for quite some time and enjoyed this sound, but could not figure out what it was trying to tell me. At last I heaved a heavy sigh and looked back up at the pretty girl, shaking my head in disappointment. "I still don't know," I said. She pondered again, thinking much harder this time, and again seemed to have a great eureka moment. "Have you tried spinning?" she asked. "Spinning?" I asked back. "Yes, spinning," she said. "I always spin when I would like to be somewhere else, or if I really like where I already am." "Do you think spinning will get me home?" I asked, feeling a little bit more hopeful. "Yes, I think it will," she answered. "If your home is not here, and you spin to be not here, then it only makes sense when you are not here anymore, you will be home." This made perfect sense to me at the time, so I agreed to try spinning on condition that Ikesarola would help me do it. She said she would be glad to help, and told me I would have to take 2 bananas with me. I told her cats don't eat bananas, and she laughed at me, saying, "Not for your cats, silly. The bananas are for you. Don't you know you can't make anyone full when you are hungry?" I again felt bested by this girl's brilliant intellect. I gratefully accepted the bananas and positioned myself in a posture I believed to be ideal for spinning. She came down from her perch in the tree and stood behind me with her hands on my shoulders. Just before the spinning began, she whispered in my ear, "This will work best if you listen to my nightgown." So I listened very carefully till my complete and undivided attention was focused on the sound of the nightie, and then the spinning began. Of course, I quickly became dizzy and disoriented as she spun me around faster and faster. In the sound of her nightie, I could hear her whispering again, over and over, "Listen to the sound of the nightgown." And then the sound of the nightgown and the whispering faded away. The spinning slowed, and things began to right themselves, and I found myself in a beautiful garden with a path winding through it, and it was such a nice day I forgot about all of my problems and decided to go for a walk to see where the path led and enjoy the sweet fragrances of all the beautiful flowers growing alongside this path. How wonderfully pretty it all looked, and today was a good day to enjoy a stroll. And there, up ahead, sitting on a bench, was Mrs. Lightstone. I was so happy to see her. I was careful to tread lightly on the path because Mrs. Lightstone didn't like noisy walkers. In fact, Mrs. Lightstone didn't like noisy anything except for herself. Mrs. Lightstone could become very loud when there wasn't enough quiet for her. I knew all these things because Mrs. Lightstone was my grade 5 teacher, and I remembered her best because she was the one teacher I had the best chance of being able to drive insane. And I wonder to this day whether or not I was able to do it, or if there was something else going on that made her the way that she was. As I got closer, she smiled just a little bit and nodded to let me know I was allowed to approach her, and I curtsied and said hello. She reached into her purse and brought out a pair of scissors and began cutting at the air, saying, "Cut it out," over and over again. "You wouldn't happen to have a can opener in there?" I asked. "I have to feed my cats." She answered, "You have to distribute your water evenly." And just after she said that, it started to rain, but just on her. "Take off," she said, and this is when I remembered the bananas, so I peeled them and put them on her head to help her with her rain problem. This didn't work, so I tried to hold them in place by wrapping her head in tinfoil, and this is when she got really angry. "Take off," she said, even more loudly this time. I was making a complete mess of things, so when she told me to take off again, I wanted to do just that. There was something about the sound of the rain that was comforting amidst all the kerfluffle, so I stayed still, breathed deeply and evenly, and listened to the sound of the rain. I thought to myself, this is all very enlightening, over and over, and as I did, I felt my feet lift up off the ground, and I closed my eyes, feeling a little butterfly sensation in my stomach as I felt myself being lifted up higher and higher on warm drafts of air. For quite a while I was afraid to open my eyes, but when I did, I stopped rising up and was lying comfortably on a pillow of warm air high above the clouds. Below me, I saw a can opener, so I dove for it, with my eyes closed, of course. Arms flailing in the air, I searched for it and reached for it, but I felt only warm air rushing past my fingertips. Then I suddenly landed with a thump on the beach. In front of me was a zombie who was filming me with her cell phone. She offered me a pillow, and I gratefully accepted it, lied down, and made myself comfortable on the sand. "Why are you filming me?" I asked. "To give you a projection of yourself," answered the zombie. "Is there anything I'm supposed to do?" I asked for my next question. "You can go to sleep if you would like," said the zombie. "I would like to go to sleep very much," I told her, and then closed my eyes and listened to the sound of the waves and relaxed very deeply. The sound of the waves was so very comforting, and I felt so warm and melty on the inside and on the outside too. I soon found myself drifting off into a deep and restful sleep, and while I was sleeping I had a dream, but I didn't know it was a dream. I thought I had woken up instead of falling asleep into a dream. And in this fake dream I thought was real, I was looking at a fountain and was so happy to have found it, because it was the font of all knowledge, and this was a very good thing. This wasn't a very long dream, more like a little dreamlet. I often get these just before I fall asleep, and when I woke up and was back at the beach being filmed by a zombie, I was so disappointed I cried out to her, "I'm not somewhere else. I'm still here, and I'm supposed to be at home feeding my cats, and I don't want to be your future projection anymore." "No need to be cranky," she said. "I bid you a good day," and she walked away. And now all that I had was a pillow to get me home, or so I thought at the time, and I thought for a time about what use this could be to me, and then the idea came to me. I just had to get my feet wet, and then everything would be okay. So I positioned myself at the edge of the water, with my feet in the lake, and lied down on the warm sand with my head on the pillow, and made myself comfortable again. The feel of the warm sun on my face and the cool waves tickling my feet was both relaxing and energizing at the same time. I told myself to continue to relax more deeply with each wave that washed by my feet, and paid attention to my breathing to make sure it stayed soft and steady. I began to practice yogic breathing exercises where I would breathe into the count of 5, hold the breath for 5 seconds, and then breathe out for 5, and rest for 5 in between breaths. Doing this a few times would usually help my thoughts slow down and calm my mind so I could more easily fall asleep. But I would never tell anyone else to do this, because I would be afraid they might not get enough air. So I lied there, slowing down, becoming more calm and relaxed with each carefully counted breath, and with each gentle wave washing over my feet, enjoying the warm sun on my face and the fresh smell of beach being carried to me on the soft breeze. And my attention began to rest more and more on the soft breeze and the smell of it, like sand and wood and fishy things, and I could hear the sound of the waves and the sound of the breeze rustling the sage-grass that grew nearby. The beautiful sage-grass growing nearby, rustling and waving in the wind. And you would get a $100 fine if you walked on it, and that was okay too, because it was protected and safe. And I felt safe and protected too, like I was in my own little cocoon of warm air, placed where I was just for me. And the smell of the grass grew even stronger in my nose with each quiet, relaxed, gentle breath. And when I opened my eyes, I was looking up at the grass and the sky, and I wasn't at the beach anymore. I looked up and around and saw I was in a meadow, and someone was there who looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place where I had seen her before. She was holding a hammer, but not in a threatening way, more like an offering than a bludgeoning, and I was glad of this, so I took the hammer and she said, "I hear you have some things to hammer out." "Thank you," I said. I would have preferred a can opener. "Where's the handle on this hammer?" I asked this because the hammer was old and rusty and missing its handle. "It will regenerate," she told me, as if that made sense. "Now help me with my frying pans. Bring your tools," she said, walking towards some frying pans stacked at the top of the hill. She threw one as far as she could down into the valley and then lamented, "It's no use. I'll never get home," and then plopped down onto the grassy hill to cry about it. I sat down in front of her and patted her gently, telling her everything was going to be okay and everything would be just fine, and we could apply the power of both our brains to the problem, because I wanted to go home too, to feed my cats, and between the two of us we had to come up with the correct choice. She smiled and cheered up and said, "We'll call it the race to the right answer," which I thought sounded a little competitive, but I didn't want to be a wet blanket, so I agreed. We thought for a moment or two, and then my new friend piped up and said, "I know what it is before us to do. You have a voice. You can be heard, and that can take you anywhere, and I need to bring home the bacon." I didn't want her to start crying again, so I went along with her suggestions, no matter how ridiculous or nonsensical they sounded at the time. I stood at the top of the hill and began to sing, but nothing came out. I tried to sing again more loudly and with more emotion this time, but again I was mute. This was going very badly, so I checked in to see if my companion was faring any better than myself, and it seemed like she was. She at least had manifested some bacon and was laying it out neatly in one of her frying pans. Again I tried to sing, and this time I tried my best 1980s heavy metal rock and roll scream, minus the hair whipping for fear of injuring myself, but still it was no use. My voice came out as just a quiet rush of air. This is when my friend shushed me, as if that was necessary, and gestured towards her frying pan of bacon that was beginning to sizzle. I wondered how long she could make bacon sizzle when she had no fire, and the bacon was just lying there, limp and floppy in the pan. She motioned for me to come closer, and as I did, she was staring at the bacon, perhaps making it sizzle with her intense concentration. "Shh," she said. "Speak softly and they will hear you. Shh. Listen and speak softly empty your mind of all distracting thoughts. Listen to the sound of the voice and allow it all to fade away into the background. So I began to speak softly, and I could hear myself just fine, but the words seemed to be gibberish, and I didn't mind because it was all very relaxing, and I watched the bacon not frying, but making noise as if it was. And she then broke an egg into the pan, making it a raw breakfast I was glad I was not going to be around to eat. And as I stared at the egg yolk, it started to swirl, and then swirl even more, and I felt myself spinning, and I knew I would soon be somewhere else. So I focused my mind on thoughts of home and called out softly to her as I faded away. You need a flying saucer, not a flying pan. You're an alien. And then recited to myself, there is no place like home. There is no place like home. Over and over I repeated this, and then I had the idea it might help if I tapped my heels together 3 times every time I said it, but I couldn't find my heels or feel where they were. I was floating and spinning in some strange other dimension type realm where I was just a disembodied consciousness, and it all felt kind of cool for a minute, and just before I got dizzy, the spinning slowed down, and then I felt I was sitting still when the spinning stopped, and I found myself sitting in the middle of the stage of the old band shell at the park I used to play at when I was so much younger than I am today. A very young and distressed mother climbed up onto the stage and asked me if I would take her baby, and I told her, no thanks, I've already had enough babies for one lifetime. I do, however, like cats because they cry less and they never grow up and leave home, unlike myself, who has left home and abandoned her cats, and one of them is a kitten, so this makes this all truly terrible. I would not be a fit mother for your baby, I said. I've tried so many things to get home, but none of them have worked. I would give up, but I don't see that as an option right now. So I will ask you, how do I get home? The distressed mother suddenly changed her mood and then smiled as if she knew all along, and again offered me her baby. I took it this time, and when I looked down to gaze at its adorable face, I saw it was a squash, and wondered if she knew her baby was a squash, but didn't want to be the one to break the news to her. She began to gently massage my head, and I closed my eyes to enjoy this feeling, because I like head massages very much, even when I'm dreaming. You will have to outfox the elements, she said. Allow your mind to be inactive. Listen to your heart. It speaks in silence. So I listened to my heart and was quiet for a short time that felt like a very long time, and at first I didn't hear anything at all, but I did begin to feel something right away. My heart began to feel loved, loved like it was loved by thousands of people, and as this feeling grew, I couldn't tell any more if the love was coming to me or being projected by me. It was just there for me to feel it. All the love in the world was just there for me to feel, and for people or from people didn't really matter. The only thing that mattered in that moment was how wonderful it was that it was there to feel. And then I started to hear applause coming from a non-existent crowd in front of the bandshell. Quietly at first, and then the sound, like the lovely feelings, began to swell and grow. I somehow knew they were not clapping for me, but that didn't matter either. It was just so nice that they were clapping. I soon got the feeling they were applauding the squash baby, and I liked the sound even more for some reason. I would like it to be louder, I said, and she replied, "Give them what they want in a goodly way. It's okay now. Let the baby go." So I took the baby and I threw it into the non-existent crowd, and the applause grew louder, and toothpicks rained down on me like confetti. I waved to the non-existent crowd, feeling wonderful, and felt like I could just stand there waving all day when the giver of the squash behind me said, "Don't spill the beans." I turned to ask her about this and did just that. I spilled the beans, and when I did, I was pulled down into the pile of them and swirled around again for a moment until my hands felt the leafy branch of a tree in the darkness. So I held onto it, steady myself, and then started to pull myself along to wherever it was I was going to end up next. And hand over hand I pulled myself, not knowing if I was pulling up or down or sideways, but pulling myself along this way felt good, like I was the one in control of whether or not I was going to end up anywhere at all. As I pulled and pulled myself along, hand over hand, the leafy branch got thinner and thinner in my grasp until it was just a stem. And I remember thinking, now I'm really going out on a limb. And this seemed like an important thought, so I reminded myself to remember it later, even though I knew I would forget to remember or remember to forget, and this seemed confusing because I knew I couldn't remember to forget, and I would have to forget to remember. But if it was important, I wouldn't want to do that, and the more confused I felt, the thinner the branch became, until there was no branch at all, and I was just holding 2 handfuls of leaves, and I was again in a different place, a strange machine place, and there was someone here too, and I was glad this someone was someone familiar and someone I knew, well, kind of knew at least. I was here in this place with my favorite YouTube guru and meditation enthusiast, and I just knew for sure this time he could show me the way home, because he was so wise and all-knowing and self-confident. And then it occurred to me I couldn't remember anything about anything he had ever said except meditation is good for you. I was more than a little embarrassed to admit to myself I had only only watched his videos because I liked the way he looked and secretly wished I could meet someone like him and perhaps go out on a date or something. And now here he was before me, and I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say, so I was relieved when he spoke first. "It's a plant," he said. I looked down at my hands and said, "No, it's just a handful of leaves." He waved his hand around to indicate the strange machine place we were in and stated quite firmly, "This is a plant." "You're putting me on," I said. "This is not green, nor is it leafy, so this cannot be a plant." I was feeling very sure of myself and liked the idea of starting an argument with Mr. I'm so cool on YouTube person. "This," he said, gesturing again, "can be anything I say it is, because I am having a lucid dream." "What if I decide to have a lucid dream too?" I countered. He seemed unimpressed and still much too sure of himself. "You cannot have a lucid dream at the same time I am having one, because that would open up an alternate reality where your precious kitties were never born." I was shocked and reeled at the implications, but only for a moment. I soon collected myself and quickly formulated my next argument. "Words," I said, feeling very sure I knew the answer, even if I couldn't quite put my finger on it. "You are just playing with words. It's all just playing with words. And now I know. And now that I know, I can just pick the right words and go home." I smiled, liking the feeling of winning. I said the first word, "I." "You'll never see your cats again," he said. But I ignored him and said the next word, "Am." "You'll end up out west and never find your way home." Still undeterred, I uttered the last word, because this time I had the last word. "Dreaming," I said, and I felt the storm gather around me, the wind and the thunder and the clouds, as if all the power of Mother Nature herself had showed up to be put at my disposal to take me home. And the machine place and the YouTube guru faded away in the wind and the cloud, and even as all this was happening, I could feel my body sleeping snug in my warm, comfortable bed, and the clouds were dispersing, leaving me completely safe and secure in my familiar room, so close to my kitchen, my can opener, and my dear fuzzy friends. Eagerly I climbed out of bed, not quite remembering if this was morning, afternoon, or evening. Had I slept all night, or just taken a nap? That wasn't what was important now. What was important was I feed my poor kitties before they turn on each other, or something worse. Uncoordinated and unsteady, I shuffled out to the hallway, where I almost bumped into Alora, who had just gotten out of the shower. I thought this would be an excellent time to do a reality check to make sure I was truly awake and not still dreaming. So I asked her to go make me a sandwich. She made a funny face and said, "Make you a sandwich? I've already fed your cats for you for the past 3 days. You expect me to feed you too?" And she had. She had remembered to feed my cats for me, and they were all happy and well. And I knew I was not dreaming anymore, because people only make me sandwiches in my dreams, and this never happens to me in my waking life. And I looked outside and saw it was getting dark, and I was feeling tired again, as if all that dreaming had interrupted my rest, and I was ready for a long, sound, deep, and dreamless sleep, right after I enjoyed a mug of warm milk in my favorite chair, in my favorite spot, on my back deck. And it was a lovely night outside, a lovely night that night, not too warm or too cool, and it felt so good to just rest, relax, and cultivate my sleepy feelings so I could go to bed and fall asleep right away. And the breeze in the trees made gentle shushing sounds, and the play of the light and shadow in the darkening backyard was becoming almost hypnotic, as softly and slowly I just wound down, soft and still, so easy to forget and relax, my dreams already becoming hazy and hard to remember, and my eyelids became more and more heavy, and my head also was gaining weight and being harder to hold up as I felt myself nodding off. And just as I allowed my eyelids to slide shut, I caught a glimpse of something moving behind my shed. And there it is, my story about my dream. And if you are still awake, or if you are still watching, you may like to go to sleep yourself now and see if you may have interesting dreams. You may be in your bed or on a sofa right now, or somewhere else where you may relax and doze off. And if you are, you could, if you wanted to, you could close your eyes or just pick a spot somewhere in front of you. This spot could be a thing or nothing at all, and either one will be just fine. And as you fix your gaze on this spot, you may grow bored or tired looking at this thing or no thing, and any time you do, or any time you are ready, you can just let your eyes slide shut and enjoy the darkness or the specks or swirls of color you see on the backs of your relaxed, closed eyelids. What you do see there could begin to form shapes, images, or even moving pictures as you relax more deeply, go deeper to sleep and deeper to dreams. And as you lie here, you could take a minute or two to focus on your breathing and feel your breathing and how relaxed it is. As it slows down and you slow down, getting ready to rest deeply and rest well. As you drift off to sleep, or just listen to the sound of my voice. And you don't even have to do this much if you would prefer to allow your mind to drift and wander, letting the sound of my voice fade away into the background, or just be something not important enough for you to need to pay attention to as you follow your relaxed, sleepy feelings deeper into relaxation and deeper into sleep. And it's all okay now, and it's all just fine. And if you do like to rest your attention on your breathing, if it feels relaxing to you, you could breathe the way you would breathe if you were already asleep or trying to convince someone you were completely asleep. And feel, if you can feel, how deeply and pleasantly relaxing this can be. Just softly allowing your chest and stomach to rise and fall or move in and out with each soft, slow, even, relaxed breath. And your body can be becoming more relaxed too with each breath you let go, letting it all go with each breath. And feeling how your feet feel right now. And you may start to notice how wonderfully relaxed your body is becoming by focusing on your feet and feeling how your feet feel right now. And imagine waves of water or just waves of pure, relaxing pleasure wash over your feet, fully relaxing them. And then the waves wash up over your calves and lower legs, leaving them feeling soft, heavy, loose, and completely free of all tension. And as the waves wash up over your thighs, you may feel these large muscles heavy, melting feeling as if they too become completely relaxed, and the waves move up to your waist as your lower stomach muscles and your behind lets go too, feeling so very warm, relaxed, and comfortable. Your chest and pectoral muscles, upper back, lower back, and sides, all warm, soft, and relaxed. And feel these good feelings flowing through your shoulder muscles and down through your arms into your hands. And your hands feel so still and relaxed, and your arms feel heavy, heavier and heavier. And this is a good, tired feeling, and you could move them if you really wanted to. But it might feel better to just let them go and lie still for now. And now maybe your head can become a little bit more heavy and sink a little bit more deeper into your pillow. as your neck muscles go off duty and you don't have to hold your head up anymore, so they too can completely relax and let go of all stress and tension. And now it is best to just take a moment and give every little fiber of every little muscle in your face permission to go slack and limp and become fully relaxed. All the little muscles around your eyes soften or loosen. Your cheeks, your lips, and even your nose. Inside your mouth, your tongue can relax too. And now your entire body, all at once, can let go and feel as if it is sinking a little deeper into the bed or whatever it is you are lying on. And it all can sink a little deeper as it all relaxes and lets itself be heavy, let go, and appreciate for a moment what this thing is you are lying on, feeling how comfortable it feels. And feeling how it softly and firmly supports your weight, so you can let it all go, feeling completely safe and secure in this moment, where the best work you can do is the work of relaxing more deeply with each word I say and with each moment that passes, coming closer and closer to the deepest and most restful sleep you have had in a really long time. And you can listen to my voice or not listen to my voice, and the sound of my voice can put you into a very pleasant trance if you would like it to. Or you could adjust your own mind if you know how to feel, how your mind would feel if you were going deeper and deeper into a most pleasant and enjoyable trance, where you go deeper and deeper, and you know there isn't anything you have to think about or figure out as you let your mind go blank. And allow yourself to drift down into the most pleasant and enjoyable, restful sleep you can enjoy the feeling of going deeper, and the deeper you go into this feeling, the more relaxed you become, and the deeper you go into these feelings of relaxation and sleep, the deeper you go, the better it all feels, and you can relax and sleep now, letting it all go, going deeper into sleep and deeper into nice dreams, feeling so good to be comfortable and relaxed and going to sleep. And as my voice fades away, and it all fades away, you can continue to go deeper into these wonderful feelings until you are asleep. And as my words fade away and wander off, you can be as lazy as you would like to be, allowing your mind to drift and wander like a lazy river drifting along slowly, deeper into sleep, deeper into sleep, slowly, softly drifting and swirling away, deeper and deeper into sleep. And it all goes away now, and that's okay to just let it all go and drift away. And you can let it all go, feeling completely safe and secure in this moment, where the best work you can do is the work of relaxing more deeply with each word I say and with each moment that passes, coming closer and closer to the deepest and most restful sleep you have had in a really long time. And you can listen to my voice or not listen to my voice, and the sound of my voice can put you into a very pleasant trance if you would like it to. Or you could adjust your own mind if you know how to feel, how your mind would feel if it were going deeper and deeper into a most pleasant and enjoyable trance, where you go deeper and deeper, and you know there isn't anything you have to think about or figure out as you let your mind go blank and allow yourself to drift down into the most pleasant and enjoyable, restful sleep. And you can enjoy the feeling of going deeper. And the deeper you go into this feeling, the more relaxed you become. And the deeper you go into these feelings of relaxation and sleep, the deeper you go, the better it all feels. And you can relax and sleep now, letting it all go, going deeper into sleep and deeper into nice dreams, feeling so good to be comfortable and relaxed and going to sleep. And as my voice fades away, and it all fades away, you can continue to go deeper into these wonderful feelings until you are asleep. And as my words fade away and wander off, you can be as lazy as you would like to be, allowing your mind to drift and wander like a lazy river, drifting along slowly, deeper into sleep, deeper into sleep, slowly, softly, drifting and swirling away, deeper and deeper into sleep. And it all goes away now, and that's okay to just let it all go and drift away and allow yourself to drift down into the most pleasant and enjoyable, restful sleep. And you can enjoy the feeling of going deeper, and the deeper you go into this feeling, the more relaxed you become, and the deeper you go into these feelings of relaxation and sleep, the deeper you go, the better it all feels. And you can relax and sleep now, letting it all go, going deeper into sleep and deeper into nice dreams, feeling so good to be comfortable and relaxed and going to sleep. And as my voice fades away, and it all fades away, you can continue to go deeper into these wonderful feelings until you are asleep. And as my words fade away and wander off, you can be as lazy as you would like to be, allowing your mind to drift and wander like a lazy river drifting along, slowly deeper into sleep, deeper into sleep, slowly, softly drifting and swirling away, deeper and deeper into sleep, deeper and deeper into sleep. And it all goes away now, and that's okay. So just let it all go and drift away.